Going live. Hello. It says I'm live. Hi. How's everybody? Just use this as a mirror for a second. Whew. Hi. Welcome to Frankenstein Tea. I have some coffee today for Frankenstein Tea. How are you? Let's see. Today is Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. It is, I am on Block Island. I'm in the library. I found a little place to work. I don't have many places today, but this one will do. This is okay. The only thing is I'm on a table that's sort of crookedy. But hopefully it'll stay steady. My coffee is good. I hope you're having something to drink. Frankenstein Tea is a program that we come together at and share short stories. Today I'm going to read a bit of prose. And I read all kinds of a variety of things, a variety of genres, authors, voice, topics, but they are adult short stories. This is an adult program. And I am here today with something that's a little tough, but I'm listening to something at home that I wasn't able to read because it was too hard for me. And that's a different discussion at a different time. But so I'm listening to it on audiobook, and wow, it's really good, but it is really tough. I'm listening to The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and it's really, really good. I encourage everyone to read that. It's really good, but it's really tough. It's tough. It's a slave story. It's traditions and slave narrative. It's tough. But, I've been thinking about it. 'Tis the time of year to really reclaim what the truth is here about our country and about who we are and about how we built our country. And, we need to just keep opening up that dialogue and talking about that and dispelling the myths and the that we perpetuate. So I'm going to read something hard. Despite the fact that, lots of people will be celebrating a holiday this week that really isn't at all about the traditions that we tell ourselves on that holiday, right? This is really an opportunity for us to flip that. Let's flip that. Let's give that some effort this year. Let's think about Indigenous people and what was stolen from them. And if you can't even go there, think about Indigenous people and today, what's happening today. And we have, give an Indigenous author a read this week. That's what I'm hoping people do. Give an Indigenous author a chance on the page this week. I'm not reading an Indigenous author today, but it's about a time when it feels like it's like at a time period when we first started to settle this country. Maybe a little after, but certainly the early stages of it. So it sort of felt like Thanksgiving, like that time period today. So let's give it a try. Okay, let's try it. Just have a listen. Now, before I start, let me say that Frankenstein Tea was named such because Frankenstein is a permissible read from copyright standpoint, right? It needs to be needs to be published for 100 years or more for it to be in the public domain. That's what U.S. copyright laws are clear on. And so, when I make a recording of this or I share these things with you, it would be best if it was 100 years old or older. And so that's, kind of where the name Frankenstein came from. Frankenstein is a permissible read. It is in the public domain. Other things that I read are in the public domain and are permissible in that sense. This book is brand new, hot off the press. Not even, for us receiving it, it's not even a week old. I mean, it is hot off the press. We got this in last Friday or Thursday or something, and I'm sitting here reading it today. So certainly not permissible in copyright standards, but I want everyone to understand that when I do this program and I read something that's new and maybe copyright law says I shouldn't be recording, I treat this as a COVID friendly experiment in literature and readers advisory, which is part of my job, is to turn you on to different things and to share literature with you in the hopes that maybe you'll come check this book out tomorrow. Oops, that's the that's the light not working. Let's see. Maybe if I sit this way, it'll see me. So I think all of what I do is permissible here, but it probably isn't if you look at strict copyright laws. But again, I consider this a library program where I'm sharing a piece of a new book. This is Reader's Advisory, and like I said, hopefully you'll come and check out this book or something else by this author, or, think about it a little. So having said that, now the other thing I want to say before I start to read, and hold on, I got to get my coffee, is that tomorrow at 3:00, we're having music. We're having live music with Carrie Johnson in front of the fireplace. She's going to start the holiday with some Thanksgiving songs, or I don't want to say Thanksgiving, with some songs about our country, some, traditional folk songs, and maybe a few Christmas songs will sneak in there as we start this holiday season. So that's tomorrow at 3. So I will be recording. I won't be live. And or maybe I'll go live at 2 and then release it at 3. But we really want you to head over to Facebook and sing along with Carrie Johnson tomorrow. Okay. You can tell it. I can tell. I don't know if you can tell, but it's been a long day for me sitting at my desk. I haven't really talked to anyone. I paid the library bills. I caught up on email. I did some planning. I read some things to find something to read today. I haven't really been talking much, so I hope I'm making sense. I'm never sure about making sense. All right, here we go. Let's look at this brand new, beautiful book. This is called Make Me Rain, Poems and Prose by Nikki Giovanni. William Morrow is the publisher, an imprint of HarperCollins. Its copyright is 2020. Let's see if I can find what I want to read. This is it. Okay. Here we go. If the light goes out, I'm just going to stand up and flash my arms. It's motion detected. Hopefully it'll see me, unless I move right now. No, I think I'll just stay right here and hope that it sees me. Okay, here we go. Nikki Giovanni. We write. No matter who we are or where we find ourselves, our first stories came in song. We have to remember that 10th day on the slave ship. On the first and second day, we, the captured, were brought up to be washed with seawater and made to jump up and down to keep our muscles in some sort of shape. We could look to see the ending of the country, actually the continent from which we came. I once had a professor who had been so very kind to me. She had helped me be accepted in the Pennsylvania School of Social Work. And when that was not working for me, got me accepted in the new program at Columbia Columbia University in New York called the MFA program. I was in London for a poetry reading when her daughter called to say Louise had died. If ever there was a funeral I wanted to be present at, it was hers. But the only way back to Philadelphia was the SST. I was a young poet, and not having much money, I tried to see how that was possible. Then I realized it didn't matter whether or not I could afford the flight. I just needed to get someone to give me a credit card so that I could charge my flight. Someone did, and I did. The SST took off, and it goes up and up. They no longer have it, but it went up and up again. It was actually a rocket, and there was only one seat on each side. I looked out my window as we continued to climb. The pilot finally said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are at 60,000 feet, 65,000 feet, 70,000 feet." We could see the curve of the earth. It was totally fascinating. My African ancestors probably did not enjoy seeing the push away, but on the 5th and 6th day, they could look out or over. Neither they nor I know which one, and seeing the ending of all they knew. We know that by the 10th day, all the white people on the ship were armed because those captured would now be fighting, if not for their lives, for their knowledge. We lost. Some of us were hung. Some were thrown overboard. Some jumped. But those who understood that we were lost understood also that we had to rethink who we were or are. I always like to think it was an older woman who was put back down in the hole who understood the loss. She knew she needed to say something to her people, though there is no such language as African. So she reached into her soul and began a moan. And that moan was picked up and carried forth. By the time the ship reached what could be called America, those on that ship had one thing in common: a song. It only makes sense to me that the first word those captured understood was sold. They probably thought that was their name, they heard it so often. Off they were sent to various communities where they had to learn to talk to each other. The first language was a song. They sang in the evening to comfort each other and in the morning to call us all to work. These folk built homes and communities. They had skills that were put to use to plant and harvest. It is so easy to think we came from African communities with no knowledge of how to live together, which is just ridiculous. We found a way to understand we are of the same community no matter where we came from. We helped each other. We also found a God that we learned to worship and lean on. We took that same song from the slave ship to worship that God. And that song is what we are looking at now. The Black people who sold us and the white people who bought us never understood we were going to become a new people. We were going to build a new world. We were going to change the culinary habits of how this world worshiped. How in this world we taught our children to be strong and go forward. They thought if we were not allowed to read and write, we would not appreciate who we were becoming, but they were wrong. We wrote sometimes with paper, and we always wrote with song. All of us passed our stories down on paper or through song. We fought for education, but we also, in the cool of the evening, passed down our stories around the fireplace. My grandparents sat on the front porch at the end of day, After grandmother had cooked our evening meal and I had washed the dishes and talked with our neighbors. Some call it gossip. Some call it history. We talked with each other. I learned on that porch to never argue with anyone who was stupid, to never try to persuade anyone who would never agree to help. I also learned to appreciate and love the folk who came to share a secret, to say when there would be a meeting, to share what was needed to get someone up north to school or safety. If I could have been in Guy's band, I would have learned to quilt some of the most beautiful quilts in America. I did learn to cook and not waste any part of whatever I was cooking. I did learn to listen, to be patient, and most especially, I learned to cheerfully give time, knowledge, money. What sadness it brings that we no longer sit on front porches and call to each other. What terrible sadness it is that we want the folk who sold us and the folk who purchased us to like us. We have to like ourselves. We have to love each other. We write because we have evolved to another century. We write to be sure the words to the songs, and for those who understand, the notes to the music get written down. We write because we are lonely and scared, and we need to keep our hearts open. Black ink, or as my student Jordan Holmes writes, black mail, comes to all of us because that's who we are and what we do with it. By definition, black mail is what we receive, and I am so glad that I do. I like those folks on the ship who created that moan, that became the spirituals, that turned into jazz and blues and everything all the way up to rap and whatever will come next. We who do words are doing what we do. We are not trying to get folk who are frightened of us to be calm around us. We are reminding folk who love us that this is a good thing. Black ink should be a soup or a drink or something we can embrace with pride. Black lives matter. Black ink reminds us of why. That was Nikki Giovanni, called We Write. And black ink were two words, capital B, capital I, and black male was two words, capital B, capital M. And I did one thing totally wrong, to share what was needed to get someone up north to school or safety. If I could have been in Guy's Bend, I would have learned to quilt some of the most beautiful quilts in America. That's G-E-E, capital G, apostrophe S, capital B-E-N-D. Guy's Bend. I said band. Okay, that's it for today. Tomorrow, remember 3:00, Carrie Johnson live on our Facebook channel. I'll probably read to you at 2, and then you can catch it live then, or it'll be, released at 3, that sort of thing. Okay, thanks for coming. Have a great afternoon. Peace and love. See you soon.